Greetings, beloveds. My name is Nelly, Nkosi. Welcome to Ikhambi I.N.Healing session, our Healing Sunday session. Today we have special guests. But before we get into the business of the day, I just wanted us to almost center ourselves and invite our ancestors into the space. We have another teaching Sunday, so I'll hand over to Menzi for the breathing exercises and the pledge. Menzi.
Greetings to everyone. I greet you with the greeting of peace, ancient Kemetic, peaceful sign of
Mkhulu, can you please move closer to your device? Your volume is a bit low.
Volume is low. Maybe
yes,
volume.
We can't hear you.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
you can hear me now.
Yes.
So I was saying that I greet you with the ancient Kemetic word Hetepu, which some call Hotep, which means be at peace at each time, be at peace at all time. So I would like us to just close our eyes and in a comfortable position that you would like to be in, sitting up or laying down. I would like us to take 3 to 4 deep breaths, and then we let them out, just to let in the new day and breathe out old energy and center ourselves in the now. So it shall go like this. We're going to start. Last breath. Guide our path and then go. Take 1 deep breath in. Our ancestors give us. This is really again. We have opened with the breath of life, which we all possess, and can go into the pledge that we say in order to center ourselves in our work, and also as a way towards our code of conduct, so that we conduct ourselves not just only as willing participants in our ancestors' work, but also as responsible healers in our own homes and healers in our communities. We'll say this pledge together as a way to express that word sound power, to empower the word so that it can be practiced. So can we read it together? We are healers.
We are healers.
We are healers.
We are healers.
We owe our gifts to nature, our ancestors, and our creators.
We owe
our gifts to nature, our
ancestors, and our creators.
We live by the principles of Ma'at.
We live
for the principles
of Ma'at, Ubuntu.
We'll approach each other with respect, honesty, and compassion.
We will approach each
other with respect, honesty, and
compassion.
We will offer our advice, recommendations, and ideas with trust.
We will offer our
ideas
and ideas with trust.
We will neither insult, dishonor, nor abuse one another.
We will neither insult, dishonor, or abuse
nor abuse one another.
We'll share, practice, promote, and raise awareness about natural healing.
We will
share, promote, and practice.
Promote and raise awareness
about natural healing.
About natural healing.
Lifestyles and well-being.
Healthy lifestyles
and healthy well-being.
We will refrain from posting negative information.
We will refrain from posting negative information.
We will refrain from posting irrelevant information.
We will refrain from posting irrelevant information.
It has gone down. I need to know it by heart by now.
Apologies.
And we will refrain from speaking falsehoods.
We will refrain from speaking falsehoods.
Singabelaphi, we are healers.
We are healers.
Our gifts are a gift to humanity and nature.
Our gifts are gifts to humanity
and
nature.
We'll give back to nature what she has abundantly given us.
We will give back to nature what has been abundantly given to us.
I think it closes there. I think there's a last sentence, but someone can read it for us. I can't see it. Thank you for reciting the pledge. I forgot what the last line is. I can't see it. But I just think it says
Xaba, can you please introduce our guest for the day?
Okay, thank you. Can you please just queue up the slides for that?
Okay.
As I wait for that, I'd like to greet everybody. Greetings, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for another Healing Sunday session. Very excited about this one. We'd like to just reiterate our medical disclaimer that all this information is just for educational and informational purposes only and may not be construed as medical advice. The information is not intended to replace medical advice or treatment offered by healthcare professionals. Today we have two amazing guests that I'm very excited to have in our space. We have Umkhulu Zola Uqingitongo, and we have our beautiful Gogo Taz, her luxurious healing. And they will be having a very open discussion about cultivating natural joy. So I'd like to just read their bios so you can just get an understanding of who they are. And I'll start with Umkhulu Zola. He's known by his spiritual name, Itongo, and is the founder of Itongo Health and Wellness. He is a highly skilled and astute scholar who is established as Inyang. He specializes in naturalism, herbalism, indigenous psychiatry, and counseling, an electric gem and noble son of Africa. And we are very blessed to have him one day after his solar return. So we'd also would like to wish him a very happy Earth Day for yesterday. And we will move on to Gogo Taz. She is a grid worker, an initiated healer, and a holistic life curator. She's the founder of Her Luxurious Healing, whose mission is to holistically assist people to curate their lives based on ancient wisdom. And she has her solar return on Tuesday, the 10th of November. So we're very blessed to have the children of Het Haru on this discussion. I love how things all come together and beautiful alignments by spirit. So very honored to have them here with us. Okay, can we just have the slides off a bit? Okay, thank you. All right, thank you so much, Nkosi, who's our moderator today, for navigating us through this IT system. So basically, I just would like to give everybody a brief overview of the session before I get right into it. So today, what we what the main outcomes we'd like to get from the session is just to understand what is natural joy. What are we talking about when we talk about cultivating natural joy, and what blockages could one have that stands in the way of not being able to get that, be it the past or anything else. And then we'll round it off with just practical tools that one can now start incorporating in their daily life in order to bring in more joy, more love. Because when we say joy, it's not just in one isolated topic. It's everything that just makes you feel lighter and more connected to yourself and to others. So that is how we'll be leading with this. So it's very open. So please feel free to send your questions, send your comments on our platform on Facebook. We are Ikhambi Natural Healing. If you're on the chat and with us today, thank you so much. Please, feel free to send your questions and your comments. We will be getting to it, and we will be addressing anything that you might want to add or get clarity on. So it's a very interactive space, and we are very honored to have everybody holding space for us today. So I'll get into the very first question with our guests, and we'll get it started. So everybody must just loosen up. This is joyful. This is a joyful vibe that we're going to have, and it's going to be beautiful. So I'll start with the first question that I'll pose to our guests is, what is cultivating natural joy from an African and a Western medical perspective? And I'll start with anybody that wants to speak. I'm not going to choose anyone specific.
Nkosi Koko, we give thanks for inviting us onto the show and for doing this amazing work week in, week out. You and the team at Ikhambi are doing amazing work conscientizing the future generations. Nkosi. So I'd say, I'm not going to answer it from a medical. What is it from a medical, Western medical, African medical? I'll just answer it from what is natural joy from just being a human being. Because ultimately that's what we are. Now, I feel natural joy is you being yourself. You see, when you're yourself, you're enjoying yourself and you're doing what you want to do, the way you want to do it, whilst respecting that everyone else can be themselves and be happy in the way they want to be. Natural joy isn't necessarily about what you do. It's about what you're being, because we're human beings, not human doings. So it's about being in alignment with what you feel, you know, how good and bad, you know, not just the good stuff, you know, but also the bad stuff. You see, there's joy in overcoming. That's why I say the bad stuff. But if you can't allow yourself to sit in the bad things, the pains, the sadnesses, the fears, and all of that, you can never overcome that and find the joy, you know, in challenge. So ultimately, we can only overcome anything by being in it, not by running away from it, going over it, under it, around it, by being in it. And then when you're in it, the inspiration comes. Without inspiration, there's no joy. Without inspiration, there's no joy. Inspiration for me is it's when you're touched by nature, the divine, and it flows through you without your thought of why am I being touched like this? Where is this guy? It just flowers up top for you and it flows out into the world. Now, like I say, the things that can flow up inside of us and out into the world seeking expression are both negative and positive. But joy stops when we cut that flow of things rising inside of us and leaving and coming out into the world. Nkosi.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Koko Tez?
I love that so much. And I love the word flow as well, because for me, that's what it is, you know. Can I just preamble what we're talking about in understanding, because I'm a healer for melanated people, right? And for us to understand joy, we need to go back a little bit. And ironically, me thinking about this topic raised a lot of trauma for me. So it made me go a little deeper to understand, you know, what are those things that hold us back? And what happens is, for us as Black people, melanated people, our lives are very involved. So we've got us that you see, but we just don't exist as us. We exist in relation to other people, to our family, to our tribe, to our community, and to our ancestors as well. So whoever we are has to transcend all those things and bring us together holistically. So we've got this shared consciousness of everybody that is in our tribe, the people that exist now, the people that have gone before, and the people that are yet to come. So we've got that beautiful dimension that comes in. And we also can't separate ourselves, especially from our siblings, because we carry pieces of them, because if they were carried in our mother's womb, then we've got all that swimming within us as well. So it's very important that we understand that not only as people do we exist with what we can see and what I've just talked about. What about the trees? You know, what about the sky? What about the earth? What about Mother Nature? All those different layers, we also exist with us. They exist with us. But if we look at all these elements, we can't live within those elements. Those elements live in us. This is why gifted people would be the lion, or totems would be the crocodile, whatever it is. So we are so multi-layered and we're so multidimensional. So for us to discover joy and for us to discover who we are, we need to understand all that, those beautiful layers. And the idea of transcorporeality, corporeal being the body, and that we are trans, that we exist with everything around us. Without the computers that we have today, we would not be speaking. So how do we bring that all together with ourselves, right? And the word for me is joy. Black joy or natural joy means being in a flow state where you've got inner stillness, there's alignment and flow. You know, you're breathing and you're breathing deliberately because you've got life. You're able to get a quality life and unlock all your beauty codes to create the life that you want. So for us to truly thrive in the world, we need that creativity, that idea of bringing in new ideas in the world. And for us, if we're able to heal whatever is underlying, then we're able to bring in all of that. And that for me is natural joy.
Oh, I really love the parts that I'll actually start with what Umkhulu Zola said about the inspiration, finding inspiration in everything and being in flow and moving away from the doing. I think we are so stuck on being in the doing and the checklists, and this has to be done at a certain age, or so much pressure that we put on ourselves because we must do. But nobody says, how are you being? Like, you know, what is, like, where are you on that state? So we never really ask ourselves about that. And that's so beautiful that we need to just move and shift into that state of like, how are you being on a daily, you know, on a daily basis, check in with yourself on how am I today? What am I being right now? And I loved Kokotez when you said elements live in us. Oh, that really resonated so deeply with me because I feel that we are pulling on so many different things and not realizing that it's already all within us. And if we move into that state of being, we tap so effortlessly into that. So I really love that. And I'd like to also just maybe get an understanding from both of you. How do you in your personal life have experienced this natural joy that you've just like run us through?
Oh, every single day, every single day. You know, like I say, how do I experience it? Okay, I'll give you the quickest way that I experience it is when I play an instrument. When I'm playing an instrument, you know, there's no thinking, you know, and hey, the song has to be right. These notes have to be right. The whole melody, the whole tune. No, it's just like a channeling. And when I say channeling, you're in your heart, you've tuned into that station called your heart, and you're allowing it to speak in its silent voice. It's very loud, but very silent. Just gives you all the feelings, all the emotions. And that, you know, just for me, allowing that flow, you know, allowing that flow when I'm playing an instrument, you know, that just brings me back into feeling myself. You know, we forget that we can feel ourselves, you know, and I feel a lot of the time, you know, we lose our connection with joy is when we're not feeling ourselves, we're thinking ourselves, you know. So I always do things that put me back into my feeling. So I know I'm a human being with a spirit, with a soul, with a mind, with a history, with traumas, you know, with victories. I'm a whole person, but we need to feel it, not just know it in the mind.
I love that. I think for me, my joy came when I started running away from who I am and resisting everything that I am, whether it be divine feminine, my gifts, the people that are sent around me, and being in that state of flow. And when I create, when I'm able to create something and give the best of me to the world, that's when I'm in my natural state of joy. I think this is why trauma for us as Black people is such a bad thing, because it stops us being our best selves. It stops us unleashing ourselves into the world and giving in our contribution. So when I'm in flow with all the elements, with my divine feminine, and I can feel the guidance of my guides, the grandmothers, the whole essence and the well-being of who I am, that is me in my natural joy.
Oh, absolutely love that. Oh, and I loved the part of where you were just saying when I'm being all of who I am, and that really essential to being in the being of, and that's the shadow part that Khuluzola spoke about in the beginning, is that we all like to just say it's love and light, but there's also the shadow part that also holds a lot of blessings for us if we're able to tap into that and start engaging ourselves even in the darkness that we're uncomfortable about. I'd like to just open up now to the participants. If anybody would like to please ask a question, if somebody would like to have a comment just on what we've touched on so far, please feel free, and you can direct it to both Khuluzola or Kokotez. They're open for it.
We currently do not have any questions from Facebook directed towards our guests. We don't have any on the chat. I'm not sure if there is a question from the attendees.
Okay, I'm not seeing any raised hands at the moment. I'm also not seeing any question. Okay, so we will just move on to more of discussion, which I love. I love the questions, but I love this discussion too. Okay, actually, Gogotez, this is for you, and it will also play into what Khuluzola has spoken about in terms of the shadow side and the darkness of it. But Gogo, you spoke about trauma, and I think we really cannot move forward without us directly speaking on that. As melanated people, we know that we come from a difficult and a challenging history, and I'd like you to just please go in depth of defining that trauma, and also if you can just speak about how this subject has also sparked something in you that you were like, oh, okay, something is there that I need to further engage.
So, with this idea of being connected to everything and being connected to everyone, somebody else's pain is also my pain. And somehow the work that we do is because we want to bring everybody along with us to say, this is what will happen if you find joy within yourself. So the sad part about our African systems is we see ourselves through Western sensibilities in a way that's very hyper individualized. So even when we try to deal with issues, right, we go to therapy to talk about our own issues, and we fail to see the interconnectedness of everything that we have. So for me, the idea of trauma comes from that colonial trauma that we experienced, right? And we know that we're still living with the social and economic disparities that we have. And through the silencing that happened to us as African people, through colonial dispossession, we're in toxic systems that actually kill our own spirit. And when our spirits are killed, then what happens is we also kill our children's spirits. So then this thing becomes very multi-layered. And then we've got this transgenerational trauma that we then transmit through the bodies. And then within this, also our hearts, are always constantly broken. And then this is how then trauma shows up in our lives. We're constantly hypervigilant, right? When do you relax? When do you breathe? When you go out in the streets, you're not feeling comfortable. How do we live as people? When we are crammed, we don't even have land. That's why sometimes we feel like we have a lack of control. And when we feel like we're being dominated by the systems that we're in, when you're at work and you're being belittled, that's something that's also not natural to us. And when we look at the divine feminine as well, how it's been treated, we're carrying all these unhealed sacral chakras, the home of our I am, the home of our creativity. We come in with flow is also not being taken care of. So if we can't flow, then it becomes very hard for us to be joyful, because the initial conditions for our joy as Black people has been taken away. Even if we're just looking at what has happened to our grandmothers, and we know that our grandmothers when they're carrying our mothers for the last 5 months about of their lives, they're also carrying us in their bodies. So they're also even transmuting that trauma to us. So for me, our trauma as Black people is so multi-layered that sometimes when I feel stuff, it's not about me, it's about where I come from, and then needing to confront that, doing that shadow work in the family, doing that shadow work within myself so that I'm also strong to also help other people to deal with their own traumas. Yeah.
I actually really love the part that you spoke about, that our grandmothers also are carrying us towards the end, because we have such a, a singular view of how the system has now placed us, of where or you just think you're just your mother, you're just your father, and you have this little nuclear family, not understanding that it's so many layers, and it's so, the lineage runs so deep and so long, and we need to honor all of that and be aware of all of that. Mkhulu Zola, can you just maybe run us through the shadow side and also the traumas in terms of, you know, this concept of joy that seems so like elusive for us melanated people?
Okay, so I'll say this, Coco, is that when I look at our society and our world, you know, there's one disease that every society, the whole world, everyone, every race, every culture, every religion, you know, suffers from this one thing: narcissism. You know, I feel all trauma is rooted in narcissism also. What is narcissism? Narcissism is you're not allowing someone to be themselves and express themselves as they naturally are. We want to filter their expression and their being into what we feel will be suitable, you know, and appropriate for the circumstance, the situation, whatever it is. On one side. On the other side, it's when you yourself won't allow yourself to be who you are. For example, let's say you see someone down the road, you're walking down the road, you see someone, you know, and you want to smile and greet them. But then your mind says, hey, this person might not be safe. So then you look away and you just pass them as if they're not there. You know, yourself wanted to greet them, but then you just didn't do it. And I feel in that, not allowing ourselves to be ourselves, you know, and not allowing other people to be themselves, we start to traumatize one another. Why do I say this? Because every human being is made from nature. And nature is not a force that has to be controlled. It's not it's not a force that you can even control. It's a force that you align with, and then everything becomes harmony. The more we try and control the next person, for example, the mother that wants to control her children, or the father that wants to control their children, because they feel they know what's best for their children. Now, in there, we have to respect that a parent will do their best that they can, you know, and they can only do what they know. It's not like they're going to do more than they know. Everyone only does what they actually know. I can't expect more than that from a person. And in there, you know, people, the love that they know, the life that they know is shaped by people who have been traumatized themselves, their own parents. And this is all they know, like Coco Chaz is saying, that wounds are passed down from one generation to the next, from the one mother to the daughter, or from in the womb. Let's just put it simply, from the womb, your trauma of your father and the trauma of your mother meets and creates you, you know, and then Spirit of God comes down and descends, and that's you, you know. And I say, in there we absorb all these traumas. The people that are giving us life, they are children when they're giving us life. Most people are in their 20s. What does a child know about life, you know? And how deep are these skills when it comes to dealing with the intricacies of trauma? Have they even come to know the depths of their trauma, or are they only now starting to acknowledge? And the problem is, like I say, most people are being raised by children, right? Naturally, because children have the bodies to have the babies. And these people haven't figured out the person's an adult until they reach, is child until they reach 50. Really, in the ancient world, you're a child until you reach 50, because people lived longer, because we're eating differently, had a different lifestyle, you know, but people lived longer. So you're a child up until 50, because it takes about 50 years for you to go through at least 2 life cycles and about 7 cycles of consciousness and 4 cycles of intelligence All of that is about your awareness being able to be aware and receptive. Your securities, when we say life cycles, your securities and intelligence, your ability to relate. I've gone through enough cycles to be able to be relatable and aware of not only yourself, but the world too, and its intricacies. Now, it's a natural process that doesn't need books for you to learn it. It's a thing of observe life and respond honestly. However, if you grow up in a home where you're raised by dishonest people, it's very hard to be honest with yourself and with your nature. And if you can't be honest with yourself and your nature, that's the onset of narcissism. Because from that point on, you have to manage the lie. And then you have to convince everyone that the lie is the truth, so you can be at peace with yourself. You know, and this is the thing that I find over and over again. I see it in every single group, every single race. There's this thing of narcissism. Like I say again, narcissism, 100% of society has it, but it's something that is a very big industry, multi-trillion-dollar industry, because of the symptoms, the products and services that you can create from the symptoms: stress, bipolar, schizophrenia, depression, melancholy, etc., etc. But ultimately, whether we say it's abuse in any form, you know, it all starts in narcissism, not allowing the other person to be themselves because you're not allowing yourself to be yourself. And as long as a person is stuck in the narcissism, you know, they'll never know what joy is. They'll have happiness, but not joy. Have happiness, but not joy. Marcos.
You know, Mkhulu, sir, if I could just pick on what you said about, you know, all the cycles that you need to go through till you get to 50. But we also understand that not all elders are equal. So if you're also not doing your work, especially if you haven't done the forgiveness work through your life, you're going to be a toxic 50-year-old, and you're not actually going to be able to then be the patriarch or the matriarch that you need to be, so you can look back and heal the other society. So a big part of the sense of self is forgiveness as well, because forgiveness is what gives us flow. So if we're going through all the cycles and everything that we're doing and not doing that forgiveness work, you know, the joy is going to elude us.
Marcos. These are very important things, Boko. Like, I honestly feel these are things in society we have to work on. You know, we really have to work on the forgiveness work, but we can't get to forgiveness without acknowledgement, because you can only forgive what you've acknowledged. Because I can't put someone in a situation where they don't. For example, let me just use a practical example. I come to you with a broken computer. I know you don't know how to fix a computer, but I say fix it. You know, there's something wrong with it, fix it. You have to first be able to acknowledge that over here in this computer, there's this specific part that is broken, and this is the thing that must be fixed. And I feel with the forgiveness work, it's very important, like I say, acknowledgement. You can't forgive until we acknowledge, and that's the hard part for people, because to acknowledge means to sit in your memories, to sit in the experience that you know, the one that you know, not the one that we conjecture and we think about, not the one we actually know that happened. And this is where people are stuck. Why are people stuck? We can talk about it from their body. You know, people don't breathe deep. And if you've ever seen someone crying, you see how deep they breathe. Yeah, why are they breathing deep? Because from the bottom part of let's say below the heart and downwards, you know, we'll go to the chakra system. There's the solar plexus, which is the center of yourself, right? Then below the solar plexus, which is how you relate with yourself one-on-one. Then there's the sacral, which is obviously a space of emotions and power, right? But also how you relate with people on a one-on-one, not just with other people on one-on-one. And at the base, at the root, right, is how you relate to your tribes, whether it's your family, your ancestors, your workspace, any community that you're in. But also in that space, right, is the space where most of our intergenerational issues are seated, because that is the playground, the throne of the ancestors. And that's where most of our trauma is seated, because we think when trauma is happening to us, that we started with us. And we don't understand that it's a cycle playing out from the previous generation. Now, I say people can't breathe deep. Why can't they breathe deep? Well, they've got waste in their stomachs, they've got waste in the interconnective tissue, they're not detoxing properly. And when we say detoxing, we mean detox your body for the adequate amount of time, not 1 week or 2 weeks. They'll give it full 6 months, or if it needs to be. People are not detoxing. So because they're not detoxing, they are not getting the waste, the mucus out the body. Now, mucus in the body represents blockages, right? But the body is a mind body. Mind, body, spirit is not separate. It's a one thing. And each of your organs holds a certain emotion, right? Your intestines hold the worry, anxiety, your ability to process reality. Your kidneys hold your ability to have willpower and to confront fear. Your lungs hold the energy of sadness, depression, melancholy, grief, you know, your liver, anger. And honestly, if we're now looking then what happens down below, and obviously we said then the genitals, it's the space, you know, from which the ancestors come. If you ever pay attention to a person with trauma, they can't breathe deep, because when you start breathing deep, you're breathing firstly into the center of you yourself. You yourself as a person, how you relate with yourself, followed by how you relate with your emotions and your sense of personal power. Are you empowered or disempowered? We don't get disempowered by people. We are disempowered because we cannot take full responsibility with both hands, that for me to have this power, there's things I need to do and there's things I need to confront. And you can't have power if your kidneys are not working. If you look at this, the sacral chakra, right, it's associated with the kidneys also and the bladder. Naturally, you're breathing there now, you're in that space, but then still there's one more place to go, the core, the root, where it started. And that's the issue, the hardest part, when we get there. And then you start to see your mom's stuff, your dad's stuff, you know, the things that they've done to you and the things their parents did to them, the way our cousins and our aunts and uncles and behave amongst themselves, you know, and how that shaped our expression of love and our expression of self. And in there, if we cannot reconcile, we can't forgive, like you say, our families, we still holding grudges, we still sour, we still have a point to prove, you know, because we're caught in the game of narcissism. Then naturally, we live here at the heart where it's all love and peace, right? You know, and then we use our voice, you know, to mask it. And then we use our mind, you know, to justify it, you know, and then we say we connected.
Yeah, we can't
And
go
the
to the
reality,
higher chakras before
we
we deal
can't.
with the lower chakras. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly,
And
Coco.
I think what you're
Marcus.
talking about is the embodiment that we need to have, right? How we go back to our own indigenous practices and move away from individualism, narcissism, go back to these embodiment practices. Who are we as indigenous people? Because remember, you also need community to hold space for you, because how do you
Exactly.
self-reflect if other people are not mirroring you? So we need
Marcus.
that, our own practices, our healers, the community, those fires, sit around the fire so that we can see more of who we are, work through the chakras, start from releasing that pain that's intergenerational, that trauma, so that we can then engage. That's why we've got a lot of fake joy or toxic spirituality, because we are engaging the higher senses, because you can't have joy in your heart when you've not discovered what else you're struggling with. And when we know we speak from a place of not being healed, this is when we use trickster energy to trick other people, and then this violation and this lack of joy goes round and round in circles. So I love what you're saying about, let's go back to our embodied indigenous practices. Let's go back to healing. Let's go back to breathing, removing the mucus from the system, and then moving on from there.
I really, really love that. We actually have a hand raised. It's coming from Coco Nelly. Coco Nelly, what would you like to say or ask?
So Uzola touched on narcissism, which is a topic I believe needs to be addressed like a full-on session on its own. Which is a full-on session that is like on its own, and for me that's another topic on its own. And Ugogo just touched on something very, very profound, and she said fake joy, and I think the two are interlinked. But the question here is, would we say then that a lot of the joy and the spirituality that we see, because narcissism is about enforcing your views onto other people in terms of how they relate and how they deal with things, would we then say that a lot of the spirituality and the joys that we see is aesthetic, in a sense that people saying, oh, I'm finding my joy, but then it's in terms of how society is expecting you to actually be expressive in terms of that joy, or be communicating that joy, or how you're supposed to behave. When, like, you would find somebody who's reserved and they're very, like, they're happy, you know, but how they portray that joy is not in the way that other people are expecting them to be, like, oh, I'm happy. And in a, like, that's the real question, is that is that the real issue that now we're dealing with now, is that it's aesthetic, it's aesthetic, I'm not sure, it's cool. It's synthetic in some way, in it, to look pretty, like Instagram and Facebook type of joy.
Of course. Can I just add one thing and just say, like, earlier on I said people are natural, right? We're all made from nature. And I feel when I say narcissism, one of the biggest issues that we have, as I'll just talk about Africans, as us Africans, is we are narcissistic to ourselves when we don't want to perform our own rites of passages and our traditions. Why do I say that? Because your rites of passages are naturally yours. They don't belong to anyone else. And they're specific to how they do it in your tradition, in your culture, in your family. Now, yes, we've gone through colonialism and apartheid, and we've lost our knowledge, right, of how some of these things are done. And I feel what we do nowadays a lot, we say, no, we no longer do that. We are Christians or Buddhists or Muslims or whatever we want to be, other than Abantu, you know. And in there, we start to cause ourselves suffering, because you're creating a disalignment with your ancestors. Firstly, people for over 400,000 years, were performing rites of passages at certain points of your life. What happens when you're born? What happens when you become of age? What happens when you reach puberty? What happens when you reach adolescence? When you reach young adulthood? When you marry? When you divorce? When you die? After you die? You know, all of these things are very important. And the thing is, in our community, I see amongst Asians, I see amongst Europeans, I see amongst Indians, without fail, year in, year out, month to month, worse with the Indian people, rites of passages are performed because they respect that they are natural. And in order to keep harmony in their nature, they need to be doing their rites of passages. Now, people like to run away from rites of passage, saying, no, these rites of passages are backwards. But then whose responsibility is it for them to be developed, if not you, your own, right? It's your rite of passage, meaning if it needs to be developed, it must be developed by you. We don't need to be mutilating people's genitals, for example, because that's what people always say, no, they're going to mutilate my genitals, I can't do that, it's backward. No, then do the ceremony to mark that stage and create the alignment with, for example, if you're going into adulthood, you are now aligning with all the adults in your ancestry that have come before. Do the thing and stop, make it about Jesus, or we make it about mutilation, or we make it about people being bare-breasted, or we make it about virginity testing, and we make it about every single thing else. But then we don't go and do the thing that was naturally yours to do the whole time. And then as a person goes up and keeps growing up, they can feel there's something missing, you know, and it's not a thing you can do in terms of you can go to someone and do, and then you feel that thing is filled. Something you must be, your indigenous self. Everyone on the earth is an indigenous human being, but we are blinded by modernity that we are now these modern people, as if we stopped being indigenous people. We were created by God, these natural principles, which created the nature, which gives ancestors, which gave us. We have 5 parts, and these 5 parts are completely natural, nothing that you can create, but something that exists and animates you. And as long as we find that thing of being our indigenous self, our indigenous Bantu self, the longer our problems go on, you know, because some things, for example, shames within a family, within your rites of passage, there are ways to deal with shame, but people don't know how to deal with shame. So they try to go to psychologists and they try to go to counselors, and it helps a bit, you know, but the intergenerational issue still plays out from one generation to the next generation to the next generation, because the shame hasn't been removed, acknowledged, dealt with this one person and their pain and trying to find help, where it's a family thing, a dynamic where one family member is openly saying, this happened to me, but the others are still quiet. Mum is the word. You know, and that's why I say, if people knew how to deal with shame in terms of their rights, they'd do it that way. How they deal with betrayals, how they deal with murder. You know, like I remember Baba Credo said, you know, that when someone was a serial killer, we didn't go and lock that person up and kill them in the ancient world. No, we would take that person, blindfold them, and take them to a place where a woman is giving birth, in labor giving birth. And we'd wait for that baby just to be delivered. And as soon as the baby is delivered, we'd put it in the serial killer's hands. And what would happen? The serial killer would purge and vomit and vomit and vomit and vomit. And after that, that person would not kill again, because what they were yearning, right, is life. That's why all they could give was death, because they didn't have life. So you can only give what you have. Death, if death is what you have, that's what you're gonna give. But being given life, to hold life in your own hands and come into the experience. We are people of experience and embodiment, not people of theories and thoughts and whatnot. We want experience. We want to see and know it through experience. Through the experience of holding this child, you know, the person gets life and knows what life is. And from that point on, they stop. They don't kill anymore. They're like, you know, because they really understand. You know, and I say again, the depths of the things that we do, the medicines that we use, the rituals we do in terms of rites of passages, you know, that you'd go throughout your whole life to prepare you to how to deal with trauma, you know, to prepare you to know how to keep yourself in alignment with the whole nature. You know, these are the things that we lose. And then we're stuck in narcissism as a result, trying to justify why we're not yet in the knowing of our indigenousness. Marcos.
I love that. I really love that. And I agree with you, Coco, that what you're asking, our joy feels a bit performative, because exactly what Nkuluzola said, you know, when you come and you're like, I feel an emptiness inside of me, right? I like joy, I like flow, I like all of that. We give answers perhaps that deal with the surface level stuff. You know, we know that our practices were banned from us, because when we embody our own practice, then we are in fully flow of who we are. Because now we are the ones who are speaking about how our practices are demonic and uncivilized, and we're the ones who are moving away from that, and we need to take our power back. But what also happens is we start to monitor each other. So we become now the oppressor, and we take the position of the oppressor, and we start to police each other. And when we're asking for what's rightfully ours, we're also gaslighted, right? And we know that with narcissism and gaslighting, they go hand in hand. So if I'm saying, but this is who I am, these are my cultural practices, I'm gaslighted, you're evil, those things are backwards, why are you naming your child this, why are you doing that? So we do that and monitor ourselves, right? So, and we see that at that heart of that dominance is when we're policing each other, when we're talking about women and how they look, and when we even talk about how our own practices should look, and we don't allow people to exercise themselves within their families or within their own understanding and their own way of coming back to that. When we do that, we're also killing each other, you know, internally, and we're not allowing ourselves to move towards that joy. So we know that oppression requires that we put other people at the center of that. So if we're now policing each other, if we're not taking our own practices into place, we're putting something else in the middle. And without embodiment of those indigenous practices that we have and what Nkulu has spoken about, then we're never going to be in that flow. And we'll always be on Instagram all painted, but empty on the inside. So just ask yourself, when you're feeling empty, what is that which you're seeking? You're seeking yourself. You're seeking yourself today. You're seeking yourself in nature. You're seeking yourself intergenerationally. That's critical.
We actually have a question from one of our attendees, and they're just asking so it's from Usmanga, and they're asking, please may Umkhulu repeat the 5 parts we are made of. Tamaku.
So first part is God. You know, person is coming from God directly. You are part of God, right? But then God has natural laws, which we'll call deities and everything you want to call them gods, but ultimately it's natural principles, cause and effect, and all of these things, right? These laws, when they work together, they create a space called nature. because nature is just all these laws constantly working together to give us a manifested reality. But within like some of these laws, like the laws of begetting, that you will beget, and the law of perpetuity, that things continue onwards forever, you know, create a space inside now this nature of creatures that can give birth, you know. So the next thing after nature, it's the God, natural principles, nature is creatures. A human being is just one type of creature, you know, we're just a creature, right? But we have the ability to beget, right? And that's where now we get ancestry. Then it's you, because you've begotten. So these are the 5 parts of a human being.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Boko, I really liked, and I think you also touched a lot on it, Khuluzol, about this whole thing of the ecstatic look. We see the new, I don't know, I call it new age spirituality because it's not indigenous and it doesn't feel very old. So the new age spirituality is all about, everybody's focused on opening the third eye. Like you get a lot of buzzwords of, I want to open up my third eye. But it's like, have you checked your root? Is your root intact? You know, have you engaged your sacral and done womb healing for women? You know, and even for men, because I know that we focus so much on women and the womb, but men also carry an energy of life, because a woman by herself cannot alone give birth. It's a co-creation that needs to happen. So as we heal the feminine, we also need to heal the masculine. So all of that is not being done, but we're all opening up the third eye, and we're posting all these very esoteric quotes and you know, taking these pictures, but there's no depth to it. So I really liked how you two were able to just break down for us about actually stop all of that and look into yourself and still yourself. And that also leads into the next question of what I'd like to ask is that then we are now dismantling everything that we now know, and we are returning to self, to our indigenous self. So what is the role then that traditional healers can assist and come into in terms of helping us cultivate this joy? And basically, we're not even cultivating joy anymore. We're just trying to come back to a sense of our state, because that's where it all resides.
For me, I like that question. It goes back to, how do we find the parts of our grandmothers that are unhealed, the parts of our grandfathers? How do we ground ourselves to that? And that's the biggest role of healers, right? Coming in to help us hold space for ceremony, to come together as a family, because we know our trauma is locked in the things we do not talk about. Nkuluzola gave this example and was talking about shame, that if one person owns it and we're not owning it collectively, let's not go the hyper-individualized Western way. Let's come into community. Let's sit all together and see where this is. Because if we are able to find it, we know this with epigenetics, if we're able to find it in our lineage, we hold space for it, we heal it, we hold ceremony, we park it. Because literally the idea and the role, especially the role that I take myself as a healer, is I want 7 generations from now, the 8th generation, to be so clean and so pure, to be starting their own paths with these rich embodied rituals, because we dared to do the work. So we need to hold these spaces together with people and start to midwife ourselves back to ourselves, but also creating new realities where we're also not repeating the mistakes of the past. So this constant renewal happening and going on. Yeah. So I think this is where we need to go back. What needs healing in the family? And this is where the healer can hold space for us, ceremonially and collectively.
Makos. I feel the role of the healers is important, like what we're saying, to hold us in collective ceremony, you know, but also I'll talk from my perspective as a herbalist. Okay. And I'll say, let's go to that thing. Why this whole thing of the third eye? You know, everyone wants to open up the third eye. Everyone's like, no, we need to open up the third eye, you know, so we can be woke. You know, but they don't understand what they're actually saying. You know, and what they're actually saying, you know, if you're going to look at it from a scientific medical perspective, is my pineal gland is calcified. Now, the pineal gland is important Why? Because that's where you get melanin from. And the melanin gives you range of perception. And range of perception gives you range of expression on one side. On the other side, it gives you rhythm. It regulates your biorhythms in your whole body. It's not just about pigmentation, no, it's not just about pigmentation. It's really about regulating your biorhythms. Which hormone secretes what, which organ, from your endocrine system secretes what. For example, when is serotonin released? When is melatonin released? Serotonin is for the day to keep you all connected and happy out during the day. Melatonin to peace you out in the evening. Endorphins that make you happy, and all sorts of other hormones, testosterone in men, progesterone in women, estrogen. All of these things are regulated by melanin. When people say they want to open the third eye, when I say they don't understand, what they're saying is, I need to go and detox my body because my endocrine system, because the pineal gland, pituitary, hypothalamus are all part of the endocrine system, right? Your hormone system, the glands that give you hormones. Hormones are important because that's how you have sensation, feeling. Without hormones, you have no sensation and feeling. And if your hormones go out of control, then it goes. So when people are saying they need, to open up the third eye, they're talking about that. Detoxing, so their body can have a good flow of melanin. Now, melanin on top of that holds your memory. Without secretion of melanin flowing through your body properly, there's no memory. You have bad memory. Your aura, what people call an aura, is a melanin cloud. It's not an aura, it's a melanin cloud of melanin being secreted off your body, just around you, off your body and around you the whole time. Every 3 to 4 years, doctors in Europe and Americas, have conferences on melanin. Africans are not allowed to these conferences. We're not allowed there. Why? And they've had these for over 50 years. These conferences have been going on. And they're only discussing one thing, melanin and the depths of melanin. You see today, they take our children that are aborted, for example, and they use them to make melatonin capsules. Eating, and they say just melanin is pigment. It's not pigment. It gives you range of perception and range of expression. The more it's in your tongue, the more your tongue can taste. The more in your eyes, the more you can see. The more in your heart, the more your heart can feel. The better your heart operates in any organ. The more of it is present in any organ, the better the organ. Now, again, to connect to your ancestors and have an embodied experience, your endocrine system has to be healthy. Your nervous system has to be healthy and your blood must be healthy, all right? And this is the thing that we as traditional healers are very good at sorting out in people. Because once we sort out those organs, the person switches on, network is on, they can connect, they're dreaming again, they're seeing their things, they're feeling themselves again. But this is if we don't have melanin flowing in people, Black people and all people, because everyone has melanin, but our melanin is different from those of European people. It's not the same thing. Ours is like chromium based, and I think theirs is selenium based. We are biochemically different. And we as healers have the processes to help people heal their biochemistry so they can have a full expression of themselves. There's not we can meditate as much as we want, as long as you're not correcting the diets, the nutrition, the organ systems, there'll be no spiritual revelation. It's a holistic system. And I feel traditional healers hold that space of the holistic system. But again, it's not about us, people coming to us, traditional healers. People need to spend less time coming to traditional healers. And they need to spend more time sitting with elders who know amasiko, nezithethe zakibo. We need to know our traditions, our rites of passage. We need to sit with, and it's not traditional healers who hold that knowledge. There's a few traditional healers that hold that knowledge. Bulk majority of traditional healers, I'll say it openly and confidently, don't know rites of passages. And the thing is, like I say, most of the issues people are dealing with are rooted in rites of passages not being performed or being performed incorrectly or being replaced with a rite of passage that cannot replace this. And this is why I say, it's not just about the healers, it's about the elders, who actually understand and know it properly, know the system properly. What do I do when a child is born? Properly. What do I do? And all of this, because for example, the rites of passage you do into womanhood, they'd be teaching you about in any rite of passage, they teach you what to eat to keep your organs healthy. When you reach puberty, they teach you. You know, you need to start eating this, you need to do this type of exercise. We lose that rite of passage. We've lost the whole body of knowledge of how to be in alignment and in harmony. And that's why I say it's not about just coming to sit with healers for this. You know, it's about going to sit with the healers who are elders, who are indigenous knowledge holders. And if you can get into that, you'll see a great difference in society and a better quality of life for everyone, because they will be treating their issues with the correct medicine and not going to the medicine cabinet and trying to pull out every tablet to try and figure out which one is going to work and fix this thing. Marcos.
Thank you so much. We actually have some comments I'd like to just share with everybody, and then a question. So our comments, just go up. It's from Usmanga. He says, beautiful, we give thanks. Uchoy Mohame says, I absolutely love this conversation. Thank you, healers, for your profound transmissions. Then we have from Uayan Dandaba. She says, the brother is spot on. Malignant, malignant narcissism, big challenge in the world. Self-actualization is a must, even if it means being sidelined by family, friends, and the community. The question that we have actually comes from Ayan Dandaba from Facebook. They are asking, is it the reason why our people are prone to being born again Christians and yet having not dealt with the core challenges in their families?
What are we seeking from church when people go to church? Yeah, Uncle is you can go.
No, Coco, please handle this one.
Can I just correct something? Can I just correct something? Apologies. It's actually, is there a reason why people are prone? Not is it there?
Oh.
That's how.
Is there a reason? Okay, all
Yes.
right. So what's the reason that people will seek being born again Christians and going to church instead of actually dealing with the core issues that they have in their family?
Okay, let me answer first part just to say I don't think there's anything wrong with going to church and being part of the family, because we know that from an African healing perspective, right, we find people who carry prophetic gifts, right? Because there was a grandmother in the bloodline who was a prayer warrior who adopted Christianity or whatever, right? So people have different reasons why they go to church, and it's not anything bad to say. But why are people going to church, right? It's to seek community, it's to seek light, it's to seek to be understood. We're creating new families because maybe the family that we're in doesn't understand us, right? So all those different reasons. But then if we are spiritually bypassing whatever is in our families, then that's never going to be resolved. If we then go to church and sit in the position of now we are also trying to police other people, then that's also not going to work. But going to church within itself, what is empty within you? Because what Nkuluzola just explained, when you're trying to open the third eye, we're asking you to wake up from being woke, right? It's one idea for us to just want to be woke, but what is it at the essence and at the core that you are really searching for? If we were creating spaces within African spirituality where we're talking about God, right, the creator, the soul, and this idea, where we're going back to lighting the fires, where we are coming together, where we're telling folklore, right, people would have a space for them to come and congregate. So within us, are we also creating those spaces for people to congregate so that we are also not finding substitutes if they're misaligned from who we are? Marcos.
And Marcos, just to add to what Coco's saying, there's nothing wrong with, like I say again, with religion. The problem is when you don't have your indigenousness with that, or if you become so religious that you lose your indigenous person, your indigenous self. You know, again, and whether it's Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Rastafarianism, even Taoism, Shintoism, it's one religion. It's one religion. It's one religion. Really, it's one religion. It's one religion in different languages, with different names for the prophets, you know, that they all experience. With different names for how they grouped concepts together, the same concepts that everyone know, you know, because we all came from nature. Doesn't mean because we became religious, we lost, you know, our nature. These gifts that we try and experience, I love what Coco is saying when we say it's about community, because I really feel it's about that. But the gifts, you know, that we're experiencing, you know, whether it's to be a traditional healer or in terms of Ubunyanga, Sangoma, Sanusi, Balozi, all those things, shaman, all of that, or to become a priest, pastor, prophet, you know, prayer intercessor, faith worker, and all these things. It's not something that's created by religions. Religion doesn't create anything. Religion is not even original, you know. It's just writing down and creating a system of what everyone already knows and lives and then gives to the people. So we can't ever make religion an enemy unless we as the people are using it as a weapon. The thing is, we like to use our religions as weapons to justify the inner work that we need to do. You know, it's like that hiding place we go to that, okay, I'll come here. And obviously we'll all run there. I mean, it's the space of where we say, I'm coming to pray to God. So we'll all see it as a safe haven. But God made you accountable. So running to him to try and hide will not absolve you of your responsibility because you've been made accountable. You know, and this is what I mean when I say we as people, we need to learn not to run into religion and make religion a problem and weaponize religion and whatnot. You know, you yourself living, even if you were in the bush and never ever met religion, you would be a religion when your life as it is a religion. You know, and that's why I say for me, like, people are stuck in Christianity because that's what they grew up with. This is South Africa. It's a Christian country, right? It was once a Bantu country, but now it's a Christian country. There are other countries in Africa which are Muslim countries, you know, and then there are countries which are really African too. You know, like Swaziland is quite African. Huh? Swaziland is quite African. Lesotho, quite African. Eh? And that's what I'm saying. We ourselves, you know, need to come to terms with what is it that we are trying to use Christianity or any religion, you know, to fix in our indigenous. What is it that we are trying to replace in this fold of religion, in this body of knowledge, which came from Wamvelagwan? That's where it came from anyway. So what is it that you're looking for there that you're trying to fix in your indigenousness? And that's what it is for me. You know, ultimately, you know, God is there, all the prophets were there. The prophets lived and died, and not one of them could change the natural laws. Not one of them could change cause and effect. I mean, not even Jesus came down to earth and changed cause and effect. He came, he left, and still cause and effect is still here on the earth. You do something, there's an effect, you know, and that's what I'm trying to say about the natural laws. You know, so we can't say we're going to find answers in religion when the law, God set his law once and for all time. God's laws are the natural laws. No one can change them. Show me the person or the organization or the culture or the religion or the healer or whatnot. Who can change? Because the law of vibration, everything moves and vibrates. Who can change that? You know, no one can change these things. And that's what I'm saying. We're looking in religion for the natural law. You know, but what we don't understand is in our religions, we've made commentaries on what natural laws are, and then we came up with rules, and we called this the law of God. And no. God's law was made once and for all time, and no person can change it. No person can change it. You know, for example, if you kill someone, you'll go mad. Something's gonna go little from killing someone. Now, whether it was a mistake or you did it on purpose, if you did it on purpose, you're already mad. But if it was a mistake, you go a little mad because now you're going to see that person you've killed. It's a law. It's God's law. That's why thou shalt not kill, you know, because of the consequence, because of cause and effect, you know. And that's why I say we're looking for things which we just need to observe. You know, if I put you by the river stream, right by the riverside, I don't have to tell you that this is water and it's flowing. You'll see that here's water and it's flowing. And that's God's laws. You just have to look, observe, and you get given. You don't have to do, you just have to be and observe. Just be observant and be honest with what you're observing. Don't filter it with your mind. Just as you see it, say it as you see it. Of course.
Okay. Thank you so much. We actually have a comment from Menzi Maseko. Brother Menzi, you can.
I'm unmute. Okay. I just want to lean in on this question, but I'd like to lean in on this question via something that Nkoko has mentioned, about the issues. So it's an issue of the disruption. She mentioned something about the colonial project. We are finding our joy, we are finding our center, but we are still living in the midst of intergenerational trauma. For me, I will just come out and just say it clearly. Abrahamic religions in Africa are part of the intergenerational trauma. I'm not putting words in her mouth. I'm saying from what she said about the intergenerational trauma, that may be also in our bodies, that intergenerational trauma is also in our land. We spoke in this platform before about not being able to access certain sacred spaces. There are sacred spaces here in Zimbabwe. I'm living in Harare. I went to a place near where my children are going to school. I wanted to climb up to the mountain. And then the ladies, a Canadian lady married to a German person who owned land in Zimbabwe. Yes, South Africans. White still own land in Zimbabwe. So I wanted to climb the mountain just so I can go and meditate there. I could not climb the mountain because the whole mountain has been closed off. It belongs to an individual, right? So we have that all over Southern Africa. We have that all over Africa. We have that all over the world in the occupied spaces that are occupied by people who have invaded other people and also took away our indigenousness, our indigenous selves. So I just wanted to lean on that and just say that as we are healing from our trauma and cultivating our joy, we also, I'm not advocating that we must be political minded or political actors, but we must understand and overstand and understand the value of acting becoming activists in order to dismantle the trauma both physically, politically, spiritually. In another word, I don't know the right word. I always speak about, just in closing, I always speak to people about the fact that there's a metaphysical war. There's a metaphysical. We have to be conscious of it. And lastly, just really properly, I always tell people that I didn't become a Rastafarian because I liked Bob Marley, or I didn't become a Rastafarian because I liked religion or I liked the Black Christ better than the white Christ. I became a Rastafarian because I saw a movement that was in my community. I don't know about other Rastas, but in my community, they were acting on the community. There was feeding schemes. There was a whole lot of plantations. There was a whole lot going on, which was both a spiritual act, but also a social, a giving back to society. There was something called what is it called again? It's like a pledge, that every time we gather as Rastas. It's called the Nyabingi pledge, I think. Nyabingi something. But in the pledge, it intrinsically says that in order to heal the body, you have to heal the mind, but you also have to heal society. I didn't see that in my church. So I went into that because there was a drum and there was the honor of ancestors, even though some Rastas don't like even talk of ancestors. But we spoke of Queen Nyabingi, a queen who was an anti-colonial warrior. So most Rastas think we are following a king, but in fact we are following a queen. Some people are going that way, but the real actual essence of this thing is a Ugandan queen who was an anti-colonial fighter. So that's, I just wanted to put that out. That religion, the brother and sister are right when they say that religion in itself, sometimes it's like what Toni Morrison said, it's like racism. Racism is not is a distraction. Religion is the same, distraction from the real cause of us embracing our oneness and our diversity and our differences. It is not the problem per se. It's kind of like a distraction. It's there, but it's distracting us rather than helping us to focus. I just wanted to say that, and I need to go because these people are setting themselves here. But
I agree 100%.
Of course,
I agree.
Thank you so much, Mkhulu. We actually even have a comment from Ukoko Nelly, just to speak about the land. She says, our land holds trauma and memory. So it touches on about this whole fencing off certain land, and us as Indigenous people do not have access to that. And I mean, just even to touch upon the point that Brother Menzi made in terms of distraction, the system is designed to distract what it cannot destroy. So that's why you find so much distractions in the melanated communities, because it's so much trying to destroy us, and we are so resilient to that. So now it's like, okay, in the absence of not being able to wipe them all out, what is the next step? And that's the distractions. And it's just, there's so many of them. But just to come to the point, probably the last point before we wrap up, is just, what are the tools, I mean, daily, weekly, or monthly, that one can start to implement on cultivating natural joy in their life and just becoming more aware with themselves?
First and foremost, and I love what you're talking about in terms of land. That's why in the beginning I said we're transcorporeal. We exist with everything. When they take away our land and they take away our holy sites, a part of us is missing. So it's us about gathering in the different ways that we are called to gather all those things together, and that we can allow people to have flow and creativity in their lives through. We need to manage our energy, as people physically. Simple things like, are you taking deep breaths? Are you staying hydrated? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you getting good nutrition? If you live in the urban area, are you taking time to go out and be with nature, right? So it starts with all those simple things. Then, do you have social support? We speak of the idea of being separated from other people. Part of colonialism and what happened post-colonialism is now we are scattered, we're in different places. Are you making sure that you're gathering a social support system for yourself, for you to function? Your brain relaxes when you are loved, and that's when you're able to get into your flow in order to do different things. What are you doing to also lower your anxiety as a person and to take accountability for your life and the path that you want to move towards? That idea of mindfulness. Who are you putting around you in terms of the people that also support you and help you grow as a person? Doing that before you go to the next person, right, to help you, before you find that help from another outside person. Are you really taking care of yourself and understanding yourself? For me, that's the first place to start. Ground yourself, breathe, find that fire. We've got fire within us. We've got the ceremonial fires that we put out. Nature, be in nature. Nature is also going to give you joy. Give yourself time to meditate, to take journeys so that you can remember who you are and what your purpose in life is, because it's all of us as little individuals who are working towards this joy and unlocking joy in our community. Yeah. Nkosi.
So stick to the basics in life. You want it right, stick to the basics. Detox right, eat right, sleep right, express yourself. If you don't express yourself, right, that's not a healthy expression. No expression is not a healthy expression. So we can't say repression is healthy, or no. You have to express yourself in all the ways, whether it's sexually, mentally, physically, verbally, emotionally. Express yourself. Don't hold things inside, because no expression is not a healthy expression. And get to know your family history properly. Ask all your aunts, all your uncles, all your grandmothers and grandfathers who are alive. Speak to your cousins. Everyone is alive, has memory, and can tell you something that you didn't know about your family. So speak to your family. Know your family history from each one's perspective. What did each one see? Build a family tree. We can't keep saying we're gonna go into the future without family trees, or we're gonna say it's a white thing or a Western thing. Enjoy it, Nat. Please. So we must start getting family trees going. Create a book, for your family, for the traditions of your family, and make that a family heirloom, a gift that's passed on from one generation to the next without fail. You know, and these are the basic things I'd say. Eat right, sleep right, exercise, express yourselves, fix the family situation, know your family history, create the family traditions, and most importantly, seek help when you need it. You know, when you can see that I can't deal with this thing on my own, go and find someone who can help you. Also look for help in the correct places. Know that when you've got an issue that has to do with rites of passages, go to someone that's going to help you with the rites of passages. If it's something that's like a cleansing, then go to healers. A consultation, go to healers, then for that. But go and seek the healing that you need in the correct space so you can get what you're looking for. And that's what I'll say. Keep it simple. Keep it simple, smooth, basic, winning. Marcos.
Thank you. No, we're in the winners team now. Everybody, we going to the top floor. It's the winners team. Thank you so much for that. I'll just open up for any questions and comments from the winners. Do we have anything? Okay, I'm just looking at the chat. I'm not seeing anything come through. Is there anything on Facebook, Nkosi?
We have Ayanda thanking the response to the question. So yeah, Ayanda is very happy about how the question was responded to. All the other comments, I think we have addressed, unless there is a question from the attendees. There aren't any raised hands, but do we have somebody who wants to comment in the interim?
Okay.
We have Siabonga, who says thank you, Makos.
And I actually liked the part of that you were talking about in terms of expressing, and both Gokotez and yourself, Mkhulu, have spoken a lot about expressing. And it talks well also with Hitaru, who rules the throat. So being able to open up your throat chakras, because those are the conversations that you're going to have. You're going to have your conversations using your words. So it's very important for us to start engaging our elders, engaging our family with the family tree, creating that book and speaking also into life. Because we must also, as much as want to document, we must not lose sight that our power lies in the spoken word as indigenous people. We were storytellers and all of that. So we must do that in balance so that we can also raise up that energy of our forefathers that were the great speakers. And we can also now get into our own side of ourselves, of what we bring on in terms of writing it down and being able to pass that down. So we've got beautiful platforms now. You can do recordings of yourself. There's a lot to explore. So please, everybody, take these and really make them personal and yourself. We've got a comment from WhatsApp from Ubuso Belanga. She says, beautiful words of wisdom. Thank you so much, beloved, for joining us. And we will just, let me see if I have any more comments.
One comment, please.
Yes, go for it.
My comment is about this issue of people trying to reach the third eye without dealing with the rest of the eyes. You know, we are not even adept with our two eyes, yet we want to utilize a third one that we're not even familiar with. I think also, again, a part of that intergenerational trauma learned from quick fixes. You know, we must also understand this issue of empire. You know, we come from a place where there's lots of fast food, instant gratification of basically everything, all the senses. Everybody wants the thing now. So this whole thing of opening the third eye, it's because we have access to knowledge, and our access to knowledge makes it that we deserve it all. Not everybody deserves everything. You know, right then, you know, some of us have been doing work for the some have done work much more than me. You know, so I cannot be in a level of Mhleli or Nelisiwe. I can't be at a level of someone else. I must be humble. Again, it comes back to the narcissism that Zola was talking about. So let me finish. I'll finish with the third eye part. But the issue of narcissism, I wanted to speak clearly on it to see that it's a matter of ego. You know, the ego that is untamed when we just feel like everything is mine, mine, mine. And also the free, what do they call it? New Age movement also gives us the books, you know, by the New Earth and all that. They give people an impression, as much as the book may be good, it comes from a good intention, but they give people an impression that you are God. You know, a lot of these books, if you actually really look at them, what lowest common denominator of them is like, oh, you are God. You don't deserve, no, there's no other authority but you. But I think our healers today have broke it back down to the fact that there are natural laws. No matter how wise or how initiated you are, there are natural laws that we should all follow, and they will lead us to a harmony of society, not just harmony just within yourself, but social harmony. Just wanted to say that. That's it.
Right. Thank you so much for that, Brother Menzi. I'll just quickly go through comments, and then I will get the closing remarks from each speaker, and also where we can find them for this beautiful continued healing and wisdom. We have from Umpo, they say, thank you for the enlightenment. We've got from Usmanga, they say, thank you for the openness, time well spent, love and blessings. And I will hand over now to our guests for their final closing comments, and also please share where we can get a hold of you in terms of your social media spaces and anywhere else.
Well, I'd like to say thank you to everyone, and it was an amazing afternoon, and it was good times and time well spent indeed. Guys, live truthfully is what I'll say. Just live with truth, né? Just live truthfully. Yeah, it hurts, it burns, but it's hurting and burning what you're not actually who you are. So learn to live with truth. That's all. You can find me on Facebook, at Zola Kashimba. I also have a Facebook page, Itongo Health and Wellness. Both of those places you can find me. I just opened up an Instagram account, so you can also find me zola.kashimba on Instagram, and also Itongo Health and Wellness. You can find it on Instagram. But other than that, yeah, I'm grateful. Magwande, masibuyise isizwe masibuyela kwantu, kwamvela kwantu. Sacamagusha emakhosini.
Be gentle with yourself. We are coming from having experienced a lot. So in our journeys of healing, let's be gentle with ourselves. We know that this body holds trauma, but it also holds a lot of memories and a lot of remembering. Let's be gentle with the parents as well. Let's be gentle with people in our circles who share different beliefs from us. We are all just trying to recover from this. But I know that when we do the work individually, people are going to look at us and be like, wow, what's going on? How come things are flowing? How come you're experiencing so much joy, right? And then they're going to become a part of your circle because they're going to be attracted and be drawn to that. So let's embody our own practices. Let's be in our bodies in everything that we do. Let's take care of the body, because from that's where our light is going to shine. And when we say, where can we find you? I'm tempted to say, don't find me. Find yourself. Go find your elders. Go find people in your family. Go find within your heart, because we know that with the deep work that we need to do, there is something intrinsic in us that communicates and says, go to this person and find that person for that healing. Yeah.
Siyabonga, this has been such a beautiful discussion, a beautiful conversation. I feel so enriched. I feel so blessed. Thank you to the children of Heteru themselves, Umkhulu Zola and Ugogo Tez. You guys are amazing, and I love the direction that our healers are taking, and I'm so proud. I am so proud to be like an indigenous melanated person, because I'm so hopeful and I feel it, and I feel the joy just bursting out of me. Thank you for bringing us all back to ourselves and this great remembrance. From my side, thank you everybody that has joined. It's been a beautiful time. We are open for any questions or comments further from today's session, but I'll now hand over to Nkosi. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Xaba. Thank you so much to our beautiful guests for imparting so much knowledge. I am at a better place than where I was when I started. I have more knowledge today. Just as to add on to what Xaba, let's continue the conversation on our platforms. You can find us on Instagram as well as on Facebook. And you can also catch our previous videos on our YouTube social media, social pages. So we are Ikhambi Natural Healing on all of them. Just look for us and our logo. So you will just find us, just look for us in our logo, Ikhambi Natural Healing in Healing. So thank you so much for joining. Our next session will be on the 27th of November. We will be entering into the season Yaga Jehuti, and we will share more details as to what that entails. And please do check out our other videos that are published outside the live sessions as we share knowledge and expand on the seasons and what they mean. And yes. Oh, okay. Xaba just corrected me. It's actually the 22nd. So the season of Jehuti begins on the 23rd. So we will be right. It will be a day behind, but we will begin it on the 22nd because we have our sessions on Sundays. From us, the I.N.Healing team. Love and light, beloved. Stay blessed.